Hello, everybody, and welcome to the day after the extended postgame show for the Cleveland Browns. And welcome to Moohead Radio. I'm your host, the Big and Furry Bovine. I'm going solo today. If anybody wants to show up as a panelist, feel free. You're more than welcome. I had some thoughts that I never get it all in the emotion of a game, especially the game that took place yesterday. When you're that involved emotionally, there are going to be things that you say, gosh, I should have talked about that, after the game. And that's why it's perfectly set up when we play these Sunday games that the Monday show really takes a little bit more of a balanced look as opposed to an emotional look. I always love emotional takes because I have a lot of fun doing things off the cuff, but a little more preparation for Monday shows because there's just many different ways of interpreting what happened on the football field. The thing that's most interesting to me is the reportage, people who report on this. I wanted to share, the first thing that I read was from SI.com, and I don't know who started calling this a revenge game. It seems to me it was Baker Mayfield's revenge game, but somehow Sports Illustrated is trying to twist it. Revenge is the headline. Revenge, ? The weirdness of the Browns getting on Baker Mayfield. Mayfield had little to do with the Browns trading him or the hype around Sunday's game. Maybe it's time we all move on. Yeah, in other words, you lost. All right. Here's the thing, and I'll just read a little bit of this article so you can get an idea, and then we'll move on to something much more significant. One can't imagine what life is like inside Baker Mayfield's head right now, and certainly the banalities of a post-game press conference aren't going to adequately summarize it. But a quick stroll through social media, including the comments underneath the Browns' increasingly sycophantic Twitter page, an SAT word, misused, make us wonder if Mayfield really deserves it. At the end of the day, what did he really do to Browns fans? Are we to believe that he didn't live up to their standards or how a franchise player should act, but Deshaun Watson apparently has? And I'll stop the article there. Because, again, this is, the kind of stupidity that, here's what I know, all right? In all of my jubilance of a 58-yard field goal and looking at things as being, this is a game the Browns should have won more easily than what they did, was something that Jacoby Brissett did that Baker Mayfield didn't do. And it's something that the Browns have too often not done. And let's take it back to the final possession of the Panthers. And with momentum riding on their side, they got into field goal range, kicked the field goal with a guy who's not, a household name kicker, and took a 2-point lead. There are a lot of teams in the NFL, good teams, with really good quarterbacks, like the Kansas City Chiefs or the Buffalo Bills, who would not have been satisfied with 3. The second they kicked the field goal and left 1:13 on the clock, being a fan of the Cleveland Browns, I can tell you about this too damn much. You remember the drive? A game is never over until it's over. And in the case of the Cleveland Browns, a lot of times the game isn't over even when the game is over, like the Dwayne Rudd helmet toss. A game can actually end and they still get you. My feeling about going for 3 is you're happy to take the lead 24-23 and you turn it over to your defense. And the Panthers defense is the strength of that team. And it was last year, and it is this year. And Jacoby Brissett did something that, even though his statistics were not eye-popping, and to the naked eye, he was meh. he completed 2 very important passes and a roughing the passer call that Panther fans are screaming about. So I'll deal with what they're screaming about first. And they're freezing video of the game showing the contact that was made. And they're saying that doesn't qualify under the rule adjustment that the NFL made about, hitting the quarterback and personal fouls in the backfield against the quarterback. I might be half tempted to go there. All right. But what they're not mentioning is they don't continue to run the television video. And I'm not in a position to have that. And even if I was, I'd get in trouble putting it up on YouTube because I have no license to put up what, CBS ran nationally. But I can tell you this, the play, the defensive tackle was pushed backwards, and that would have been Jedrick Wills, pushed backwards into Deshaun Watson. Panther fans are saying that it was actually the offensive lineman who hit the quarterback and not Burns, the pass rusher. And that isn't true. If you look at the video, you can only see what you see, and that's that there was helmet-to-helmet contact. Now, was there enough helmet-to-helmet contact to really qualify that? No more than there was the putting all of his weight, Taven Bryant getting called in the end zone, going after Baker Mayfield. He laid his weight on him. I don't know. When you're in the air, grabbing a player who's also in the air, and you come down, that's called gravity. I don't know that you can make yourself lighter when you're falling to the ground. So I think that there's a lot of judgment in all of these calls. But something I want to point out, if you watched the play and what happened afterwards, Donovan Peoples-Jones was the guy who the ball was supposed to be thrown in the general direction of. And the play was already dead. And the defender, who was about 3 yards away from Donovan Peoples-Jones, accelerated and nailed him in the back and knocked him to the ground right in front of an official. That is a penalty. That's a dead ball foul. So I don't know what the Panther fans want. You can say, maybe the call that they stuck with is unclear to be used at the advantage of the NFL to pull it out when they need it. I don't like the way the NFL does this. There's no standards involved. There is an excessive amount of judgment. And with all the gambling money in the game, you might get an idea of maybe why a call goes one way or the other. But there's no doubt that it was a dead ball foul afterwards. The play had stopped completely. The ball was rolling on the ground, and he got smacked from behind onto the ground. And that should have been an immediate flag. Now, that kept things going for us in the sense that it did 2 things. One, it took a long time to get the call squared away. And during that time, that the Browns were in contact and telling the players, do this, and utilizing it as the timeout that they did not have. But at this point, the Panther fans have nobody to cry about except Matt Rule, their head coach, who went for the 3 and was content to let the defense win the game, and the 2 completed passes that really determined the end of this game. Not the roughing. The roughing thing, no. And they're going to try to say he didn't really spike the ball either. They're grasping at straws. There were 2 plays. The one was they had him down 2nd and 12. We threw a 2-yard screen pass over to Kareem Hunt. He was nailed in the backfield. A 2nd and 12 and a 13-yard completion to Donovan Peoples-Jones. Now, that immediately allows us to come up to the line of scrimmage and spike the ball. I'm not going to tell you that the Jacoby Brissett had a great game, but he whizzed that ball in a very narrow window, and like everything that was thrown his way, Donovan Peoples-Jones caught it. And that's something that the defense can't give up in a 2nd and 12 situation, especially when all you heard about, if you were paying attention, unless you're narcoleptic, is that Cade York can kick field goals from over 60 yards and readily demonstrates in pregame warmups that he can kick them as far as 70 off a tee. So it's not like that should have come as any surprise. They knew exactly where they had to prevent the Browns to get to in order to win the game. They didn't do it because immediately then they get picked on and Amari Cooper gets right down to that 41-yard line. And the second that happened and we spiked the ball down, it's done for. The kick's either good or it's not good. The defense didn't do its job. You're leaving things up in the air for the gods of football. And more often than not, losing football teams end up on the short end of the stick. We know that in Cleveland. This is just the way it is. And it should not be any different for the Carolina Panthers. The funny thing that nobody's talking about, including Sports Illustrated, was the cat that ate the canary smile on Baker Mayfield's face on the sidelines when he was absolutely sure that they had the game won. This guy's supposed to be so competitive. You know, he wasn't allowed to go for 7. And people would complain about this in Cleveland. They would say, why aren't we giving Baker the opportunity to get this done? And the first thing that Matt Rule does is he does the same thing. He subverts his team's winning effort when he had all the momentum, and he basically just told Baker, just hand the ball off and get out of the way. Because he watched Baker basically fumble, 4 times. Missed snaps, the whole 9 yards. Didn't trust him. That's how that happens. I'm not saying this to criticize Baker Mayfield. Matt Rule is Matt Rule. Baker Mayfield is Baker Mayfield. But the fact is, when you don't get 7 there, you open the door to a kid who can kick a ball 65 yards, and that kick would have been good. Thing was up the net behind the goalpost, for Christ's sake. That would have been good from 65 yards out. You couldn't let him get that part of the field, and they did. Ball game. Or as I would say, ball game. Done. Crying afterwards doesn't change the outcome, and we know that in Cleveland too. Now, as far as Baker's response, maybe Baker was satisfied with the 3 and thought it was enough, and he was smiling because he had gotten his revenge. I don't know what revenge there is to get, because I don't see how anybody got hurt in this whole situation. Baker Mayfield is starting for the Carolina Panthers. Baker Mayfield is making millions and millions of dollars. Baker Mayfield will be a free agent. If he has a good enough season, will get a bigger payday from somebody else. I do not see that there was a smear campaign against this player. I think that the management made a very quick decision that while there was a real franchise quarterback available, notwithstanding problems with that person's life, they went for it. That's what management does. It makes decisions. As fans, we might not like it. Individual fans may not like it. But the fact of the matter is, if you're going to argue with me that Baker Mayfield is better than Deshaun Watson, then go ahead and buy a football team and you make decisions on that basis. But Baker pretty well played like Baker. For 3 quarters, he was impotent. There are games he comes out where you just shrug your shoulders and you say, how could he be good one week and so bad the next week? And this is just the truth. I'm just speaking the truth. There are days where he woke up dangerous, and there are other days where he was dangerous to the mental health of the fan base. He just He's not consistent. And I know that he's not playing with the best football teams, but it should come as no surprise that 5 passes were batted by the Browns against him. He led the league over his 4 years, in Cleveland, or 3 years in Cleveland. He had more passes batted down than any other quarterback. Fact. The reason is he stares. He looks right into the passing alley and the lane, and he throws the ball, and they're laying back, man. The interior linemen for the Browns did exactly what every team did with him last year, which is rather than just selling out, maybe he can sell out and get Myles Garrett around the corner. But the guys who were in the middle of the line stopped their running game dead in its tracks, clogged up the middle, and did exactly what they were told to do, which is get your arms up in the air when he's winding up to throw, because you know the lane it's going to go in because he's staring at it. It's fact. And for those people who don't want to acknowledge this, I understand. It's too painful to admit you're wrong about something. I hope Baker Mayfield does well for the Panthers. But the fact is there are shortcomings there. And Browns fans are divided on this. And for moving forward, and you won't hear me talk about this again, is that Deshaun Watson is a much better quarterback than Baker Mayfield. He's got problems, and he better get help for those problems. And the NFL is not going to make it easy for him when he comes back. They're going to be keeping a very watchful eye on him. And I hope he's not stupid enough to think that he can continue living the way he was living before this incident was reported. And that's exactly right. I mean, the fans were booing, and I think they were not just booing Baker. I think the quarterback gets the credit, and the quarterback gets the flack, Tom. You know that. We've been around it. You can be a hero, you can be a goat. But the whole team was playing shit. I mean, what does it tell you? Everybody's telling me that McCaffrey's a better running back than Nick Chubb. That's all I read all year. That skinny little white guy is a better running back than Nick Chubb. It's just bullshit. The biggest gain that he had, well, it was on a broken play where Baker fumbled the ball, but McCaffrey was heads up, got his hands to the ball. I think he's a very good running back. Amazing athleticism, great quickness. You saw it on display. Another play in the game as well on the screen pass. He's blown out of a cannon. He's that kind of quick. But he does not have the feel for the game that Nick Chubb does. I've never seen a running back that I have seen play in Cleveland, and this includes Jim Brown, because the era that Jim Brown played in, averaging 5.2 yards per carry, could be done. It really isn't being done in the NFL these days. And he makes people either miss, or his patience is able to wait and find something that wasn't there just a split second before. He has incredible sense of timing, of patience, and then the ability to accelerate where his eyes tell him to go. So, but I just want to say that the 3 points that the Browns got, we were just slobbering all over ourselves about Cade York kicking a 58-yard field goal when it counts for a rookie in his first game ever, and he is deserving of all praise. But the guy who's not getting the praise, Jacoby Brissett, made 2 very important pass completions. I didn't talk about it post-game, and I should have dwelled on that a little bit more. Because without those 2-yardage plays, there is no field goal. And we know how many times the clock has run out on us in the past without even getting the final kickoff. So that's that. And as far as I don't know what kid you're referring to, Cade York's an amazing young kicker. He's got an amazing leg, and if he keeps his head screwed on straight and he keeps his confidence up, God only knows how good this guy can be, and for a long time. And it's great to have. And if you listen to the show regularly, I never understood what the problem is with drafting a kicker if you feel that he's just that superior a talent. We did it, but we did it with Zane Gonzalez, who is continually injured and has bounced around. This was necessary because we know the Browns got, let's be honest, the Browns scored, 26 points. And I think if you look at the career of Jacoby Brissett, 26 points would be pretty damn good in a game. We controlled the game for 3 quarters. Jacoby Brissett missed 2 wide open touchdown passes. Baker Mayfield did not miss the wide open passes that he had. I'm fortunate enough, I was talking to a gentleman on Twitter who had the footage of the 2 broken coverages, and so that I can at least be more accurate about this. On the show, I was asking questions about how Robbie Robinson got behind everybody and whose mistake was it. And it was a combination issue. And the tight end situation earlier in the game, the tight end being open in the seam, was all on John Johnson III. That's it. He just leaned the wrong way, and he went the wrong way. He did not cover that man. However, I was kind of leaning toward blaming him for the other one, and that one is on Greg Newsome. And Greg Newsome made a bad play. And Delpit, who was the safety valve to protect against a mistake like that, was playing too shallow. That's why he got behind everybody's 2 people's mistakes simultaneously. Why that was so confusing to the Browns coverage, I'm not sure. But anybody who sits here and says what Cleveland.com, Cincinnati.com actually is what we should begin calling them now. When you see a headline like this, Baker Mayfield got dangerous, but Cade York booms 58-yard game-winning field goal for victory. And, this whole thing is, and they just, the whole article is just basically blowing Baker Mayfield. Yeah, he had a good 4th quarter, but I mean, if you take a look, he had 220 yards passing, and 125 of them came with 2 plays that were busted coverages that anybody could have seen because they were the primary receiver. He was looking at them the whole time. That's where the plays were supposed to go. The rest of the game, when he tried to throw the ball where it was supposed to go, people weren't open and the coverage was there. But he did get the ball into the hands of the receivers, which Jacoby Brissett didn't do. We had 2 guys wide open. And we should have had this game way put away. Deshaun Watson would have scored 40 points against this Panthers team. No question in my mind. You want to pack everybody up at the line of scrimmage, even the Browns wide receivers and running backs on a wheel pattern. Hunt on a wheel pattern got around that guy, and the throw is just not good. And then Jacoby also missed. I mean, flat out missed Donovan Peoples-Jones streaking down the middle of the field to the end zone wide open. Just missed him. He didn't throw it. He didn't see him. So Baker at least got the ball into the hands of the 2 wide open men. If that's being dangerous, so be it. At any rate, it's over. Week 1 is done. And there's a lot more to say about it. And it isn't about revenge. It's about moving forward and trying to figure out how in the hell you're going to go from week to week with enough offense and putting enough points on the board. Because what we do know about Brissett is that he's not exactly dynamite in the red zone. Brian Daboll, that's got to be one of the funniest takes I ever heard on ESPN. Guy says, that's what the Giants really needed was Daboll as the head coach. And I'm like, dude, you just don't know. Why are you saying that? I mean, yeah, because you go for two and you get it done and it goes right. That's great. But you wait. Brian Daboll is not going to put you in great offensive situations to win. It just doesn't work that way. And this was a hard lesson, for a lot of football players this weekend. And Joe Burrow was one of them who, according to locker room reporters for the Bengals, said that he remained in his uniform, distraught, staring in silence at his locker after the loss. Took this very hard. He wasn't dancing around and smoking a cigar. This is a serious business, and what you did yesterday does not mean anything. This is when we say that Tom Brady is a GOAT. This is what a GOAT means. It isn't just doing it once or twice. It's over and over and over again. Last year is last year. This year is this year. Last year, Baker Mayfield was injured. This year, he's healthy. Every year is different. And for Joe Burrow, 4 interceptions. 4. He handed the game away. And so did the rest of the team. Just when you think you're really good enough, you're really not. The Bengals can't seriously believe that they're Super Bowl material again. They can't possibly believe that. There are teams who have just flat out gotten better, and Burrow's a fine young quarterback, but Burrow is getting hammered. He got sacked like 7 times. He's going to get hurt again. They did not address their offensive line issues in Cincinnati. They just didn't do it. And that's Mike Brown, and that is the ownership. And we know about it in Cleveland because we got really fucked up ownership too. I'm not going to lie to you about that either. But it isn't easy to win in the NFL. And when you have a good year, like the Bengals had last year, people are going to be gunning for you. And every week, you got to go out with the feeling that you got to get the job done. Now, for his part, Kevin Stefanski at least had his players, for the most part, lined up properly, and they were doing what they were supposed to do. And after the game, he was his typical, Ivy League self, and, talking about how you finish games. But look, I'm going to be, again, honest with you. We should have finished that game in the third quarter, right? We should have finished that. We finished it with virtually no time on the clock. We should have finished it in the third quarter. But the bottom line is, better to have finished the game and won than walk off that field a loser in week 1 to the Carolina Panthers. The Browns are a better team than the Panthers, and you could see it with your eyes. The Browns could run the football. The problem is we just don't have that quarterback. He's not mobile enough. He is going to get banged up really bad, and he was slow getting up a couple times. So there's going to be challenges. I think that's always the case. around the league, my goodness, the Cowboy season basically ended before it began, and that's good because Jerry Jones is a fucking prick. I wouldn't mind seeing him 6 feet under. Instead, we're going to see him 8 games under. 500, that is. Dak Prescott, surgery on his right thumb. They were getting beat 19-3 anyway. He's expected to miss 6 to 8 weeks. He's going to be on the injured reserve. But he was injured in the fourth quarter. It wasn't like old Dak was doing anything against the Bucs defense up to that point. And you don't, and again, I'll put this up here because I believe that people who take the time to come here are entitled to an opinion. And it isn't an opinion. Watson has not played in a long time. His 500 career record is with the Houston Texans. And the Houston Texans are the other franchise that was awarded back when the Browns were expansion. So are the Texans a couple years later. They've really never gotten their act together, and they can't hold on to players, bad drafting, the whole 9 yards. But you just wait, Snick. You just wait. Because the Watson that you see comes back in, week 13, I will guarantee you is not the guy you'll see next year. He's not going to be as sharp. But he's better than Jacoby Brissett. And he's better than Baker Mayfield. And he is one of the top 4 quarterbacks that there is in the National Football League. You'll see. Now, not talking about his personality, not talking about his personal life, just as a player. And this guy here, you really hurt for the Panthers, didn't you, Joe? This duplicitous act can only go so far, buddy. Or else I'll stop calling you buddy. If you wear the blue with the Panthers, you wear the blue with the Panthers. But don't be, don't be blowing me. I don't need that shit. I need that shit like Tony Soprano needed that from his Gumar. I don't need that shit. So Prescott gone. All right. TJ Watt. Now they're trying to put this off as much as they can. The whole TJ Watt thing, the team and the player are figuring out steps on what they can do as far as a pec injury versus the Bengals. First, they said he had a pectoral injury. Then they said he's out for the season. And now they're saying, well, he might need surgery. He might not. Look, I'm going to tell you something. I'm trying to remember which of our linebackers many years ago. Forgot the guy's name. I see him. And he had a pec injury. A torn pectoral muscle is not something that is going to allow him to play. And he's not going to be able to deaden it with painkillers. He's going to need surgery. He doesn't want to have surgery. And the Steelers, of course, don't want him to have surgery because they need him out there. Without him, they don't have anybody behind him. And that's the problem with the Steelers in general, who won week 1. They don't have a lot of depth. They also, have a guy with a Liz Frank injury who's playing with that. And, the fact that Najee Harris was, also rated at the same level as Nick Chubb, if you can actually believe that, by the national press, this is not a good way to get a young player's career off to a start, is to have a sprain in his Liz Frank and to keep putting him out there. And he came off the field and he was in a boot after the game. He's never going to heal playing football. It may have been Christian Kirksey, double P. You may be right about that. I'm not sure. No. Who was it who had? I'm going to think of it eventually, but it was one of those things where it had to be operated on. And again, TJ Watt, they don't want to just give up and say, well, there goes our pass rush, but there goes your pass rush. And Najee Harris, you know, he suffered a foot injury that doesn't appear to be major. Well, you know, with the Steelers, they don't care. Ask Mike Webster's family. They don't give a fuck about that in Pittsburgh, really. The Ravens lost Kyle Fuller, the guy they brought in a one-year deal, who'd never not played 16 games in a season. He's gone for the season. And Juwan James also gone. He started as a replacement for Ronnie Stanley. All right. Gone for the rest of the year. Both of them tore ACLs. In the case of Juwan James, the second time in 2 years that he's torn his Achilles tendon. It's horrible stuff. This kind of shit changes the way this stuff happened. You know, I believe, Phil Taylor did have that injury. I'm just remembering a linebacker who had it too, and it was just murderous. And, you know, they're saying that it's a sprain, Jim, as far as his Liz Frank injury, not a complete fracture, but it will become one. You know, if you keep playing on it, you know, it's just, well, what didn't Joe Thomas have? My God. Yeah, it was DeQuell Jackson. Thank you. And that's the little chubby face guy. He was like the reincarnation of Eddie Johnson, right? Yeah. It was DeQuell. And, you know, he's going to be gone. He should be gone for the year if they care about him. He's such a fine player that if they care about him and want him to recover and be full in ability next year, I don't think anybody's picking Pittsburgh to do a whole hell of a lot this year. Let the team build up around what they have and decide if it's going to be Pickett or if it's going to be Trubisky, and let him heal up and get healthy. That's the smart thing to do. Meanwhile, I mean, the Green Bay Packers, you know, Aaron Rodgers said it. He said, you know, we don't have receivers, and they couldn't get it moving at all. But the worst part is that they just let Justin Jefferson run free. I mean, literally, Kirk Cousins was playing pitch and catch. The guy, nobody was covering Justin Jefferson. And one of the reasons is that they, bringing in a new coach and a new offensive scheme there, they let him line up in all different positions, inside, outside, both sides. And he now has to be kept an eye on in many different functions. And it freed him up. And Green Bay wasn't ready for it. But I find that, I mean, 184 yards receiving. Mac Jones back, which they feared was injured. Turns out nothing coming up on radiology. But man, he took a hammer, the big band hammer to his back. Goodness gracious. And no matter who he plays for, that it's the New England Patriots and whatever, Mac Jones is slow. And he didn't feel what was coming from his blind side any better than Baker did when he was stripped by Myles Garrett. That was lucky that they got that back, because that would have ended the game. That would have given us the ball like on the 11-yard line, their 11-yard line. I mean, that would have ended the game right then and there. Ball just happened to roll back into Baker's hands. But when you don't feel what's happening in the pocket, and Mac Jones has not shown that skill up to this point, and Miami, who is a team that everybody said is ready for the playoffs this year, sure looked the part, winning 20-7. And it's not that Tua did anything overly great. I mean, but Mac Jones, 21 of 30 for 213 yards is game management kind of stuff, but one interception and one touchdown. He was sacked twice, taking that one big hit, and, and he fumbled the ball on that play, and that's how the Dolphins got 7 of their points. So it's not like Tua proved himself to be some great stuff. So there were surprises, to be sure. And, so things didn't go exactly according to plan in the NFL in week 1. And that makes for a fun season, I think. As far as the Browns are concerned, looking at this game, it's obvious to say, well, Cade York was great, and there were players on both sides who could be considered winners and losers. I consider Hudson on the offensive line a winner. He came out with a 76 rating, and he didn't get his name called incessantly for doing horrible things. What I would look out for, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, I saw several plays on film of Jedrick Wills just flat out half-assing and not, holding his blocks long enough. I don't think he's motivated. I think he's lazy. I think he's going to be a problem by the time all is said and done. He has the requisite skill set, but the mentality isn't there. So, trying to find winners, hey, it was nice to have Kareem Hunt back. He blew through the line on the touchdown run. That's one thing about him. If you give him an alley, he'll just shoot through it, and he gets his legs going. He's a north-south runner. He's not, and there's nothing about him that's very evasive, but he can pull away from people with speed as well. He ain't Nick Chubb, but then again, who is? Hunt will not be back with the Browns next year. I hope he shows very well this year and gets himself a good position, and I hope he continues to turn his life around as far as his behavior as well. But it was good seeing him out there and following that. And the announcers aren't telling you that, Conklin's not even in the game. We're out there playing with, really a backup center and without our right tackle. And we still were just opening holes. So, hey, what about Rob? What's up with you? Yeah. Nice to see you at the show. Don't go this way. The Panthers offense scored 24 yesterday. A good, competent offense will throw up 40. And you want to know the truth? Yes. If they blow their coverage, that's absolutely true. If you make mistakes, mental mistakes, that's 14 points. The only reason the Panthers were in the game were 2 plays. And 2 plays can be the difference between a win and a loss, especially when you're playing with a game management quarterback. So that's what it comes down to. 2 blown coverages. You wouldn't expect a Ravens fan to understand that, but I'm sure you were jumping for joy that you got all of 24 points against the Jets with a quarterback who refused to commit to a contract. I'm sure you're thrilled. Now, if you're talking about arrogance, and you want to talk about Deshaun Watson having the unmitigated arrogance to think that he could do whatever the fuck he wanted to do, then I'm going to put Lamar Jackson right up there. I want to be a billionaire. I want to be a billionaire. You got to take a risk. Take a risk. I hope you don't get hurt, young man. But when he does, not if, when he does, I will not feel sorry for him, because he had $133 million laying on the table, guaranteed on a $290 million deal, and it wasn't enough for him. That, when he's his own agent And he's listening to the NFLPA people, not to people who have his overall interests at heart. Yeah, isn't that the truth, Bronk? This is irresponsible behavior. You want to talk about an arrogant player? Lamar Jackson is the most arrogant fool. Thank you, Double P. That's a good word for him. He's a fool. He's playing a very dangerous game that can cripple his body. Any given moment, it can happen. Ask Joe Theismann. It can happen at any time. Somebody says you're going to have 133 million, and because the only thing that's going to get his dick hard is if A, he gets more than Deshaun, and he gets it all guaranteed. That's stupid. That's just plain stupid. And stupid is as stupid does. Yeah. After the game, Myles Garrett was being relatively nice. All the pregame chatter, when everything is said and done, guys exchanged hugs. That's the way it should be. Players who really don't care for Baker were nice and understanding. The people who like Baker were warm and friendly. It was fuzzy, not for Baker, because Baker thought that he would be hugging them, and he was thinking of hugging them and being the bigger man with 1:13 left in the game. I hope all these people can just get along. That would be a real nice thing. And that will be the end. And for those people who've bought their Baker jerseys, 16 more weeks, motherfuckers. 16 more weeks. I'm going to be here for my Cleveland Browns no matter how bad it gets. And it might get really bad. I don't think we have an offensive genius as our head coach. And I know our quarterback he didn't turn the ball over, threw for 147 yards for the whole game, but he did, the thing that concerns me is I think he's going to get hurt. He can't run away from anybody, and he's going to get hurt. You're going to see Dobbs, I have a feeling, and who knows after that. The Browns have a depth problem at quarterback. Oh, thank you, Ron Leffman. The Guardians are winning 3-0. That's great to see after sweeping the Twins, coming back home. I know we're playing the Angels, but the Angels swept the Guardians when we went out there. And coming back home, we don't win on our home field for some reason. The other thing is who's pitching. Who's it? Xavier somebody? Xavier the Savior? Is that who's starting the game? I mean, we're down to 3 pitchers and 2 guys nobody's ever heard of. So good for the Guardians. I hope they can keep it up, man. We're 4.5 ahead of the Twins, 2 ahead of the White Sox, who were hot once Tony La Russa was sat down for reasons unknown. I don't say anything. I never say beat the shit out of anybody. The Jets have problems. I understand. Browns can't go into that game as a home opener thinking we got this done. And I'd like to say that I can predict that Myles Garrett's going to do this, or this. He had 2 sacks on back-to-back plays. Where was he the other plays? Usually, it's like even a guy like Burns. Burns was in on the action on many plays. It seems almost like Myles just turns on the extra steam to get his couple of sacks, but then the rest of the game, But if this number 6 first-round pick that the Panthers got is supposed to be such a great mauling blocker in the running game, The rest of the line around him couldn't be too good because their running game never got off the ground. Oh, it's Connor Pilkington pitching. Thank you. The amazing left-hander. It was very humid, you know, and I knew that Miles would be having fun in humid weather. And that's exactly right. Yeah, 2 snaps in a row out of 40 plus snaps played. You know, you need to kind of pick your shots. And the great ones, the Reggie Whites, the greats, they found a way to the quarterback. And it wasn't just the number of sacks they had in the season, it was when they got them. But again, the one thing, about our defensive line, which was of concern, is we stopped their running game. Devontae Freeman was no factor whatsoever, and McCaffrey was really, and again, why Matt Rule wasn't throwing the ball more to use McCaffrey as a receiver to tax the linebackers, I don't understand. But the wideouts in Carolina are not good anymore. And even Schwartz got a catch. He actually did the right thing, too. I couldn't believe it. I mean, a pig will find an acorn once in a while. Blind pig. That's what I should start calling him. Blind pig. Brissett's rolling to his right, and there's Schwartz. He stops, and then he sees, oh, I better keep going that way. And he runs in the right direction and gets the ball to him. He catches it. It's like, man, that's his highlight for the season. Absolutely. The thing, I still haven't seen how Cincinnati managed to miss an extra point and the field goal. I don't understand that. I haven't seen the replays. After the show, I'll go and check that out. So, 217 yards on the ground for the Browns. That's how they're going to have to win. The first half took forever to play. The second half went pretty quick until the very end. And we do have a chance to go 2-0. The first 4 games, we have a chance to be 3-1. I do believe. But after that, it's going to get real hard, real quick. The high snap on the extra point. So the laces weren't spinned. All right. That's right. The main snapper, the long snapper, was hurt. Yep. The one I heard was just shanked something fierce. Somebody said that on the postgame show yesterday. I know our first 4 games, I think we got Pittsburgh week 3, and I think we have Atlanta week 4. I believe that's the case. Yeah, Thursday night football for the Steelers. That'll be a short week for us. Oh, and Bronk gets to see it in merry old England. But not the Queen. Unless she has underground cable. Just saying. Well, I looking back at this, I feel no gratification about beating Baker Mayfield. It's not that. I'm happy we won game 1. I would have been much happier if in the third quarter we'd have put our foot down on them and finished them off. I'm thrilled for a young rookie who got a chance. Not in the first quarter when he should have gotten a chance, but got a chance from 58 yards out to win a football game. And what confidence that young man will have because of that. And I'm happy we're 1-0. I don't think that it didn't look to me as if Brissett is familiar with the guys he's throwing to, with the scheme. Here's what Peter Alice would say for Bronk. I know Bronk wants Peter Alice, so we'll bring him in. Oh, I'm down here, or up there, depending on how you view me. Oh, the Panthers, oh. You're smiling on the sidelines with a 2-point lead. You don't even have a second-grade education now, do you? Oh. You score a touchdown in that situation, you're up 5. A field goal can't beat you. Why are you smiling with a 2-point lead? Oh. And that's what I would have said about the Browns, too. I've seen us do that before, too. We're all celebrating on the sidelines and the freaking game's not over. That's it for this edition of Moohead Radio. I'm really happy we won. We have to get ready for another week. Flacco knows our team has done damage to us in the past. You got to get pass pressure on him. And you know that the Jets have nothing to lose. So the Browns are going to have to play with reckless abandon, and really with disciplined reckless abandon and hitting hard. There are guys' names who, I did see Ronnie Harrison in the backfield for half a sack with JJ. But, something that I'm not seeing, there are names that I would, like Koromoa, I wanted to find out, was he even on the field? Because I didn't see Koromoa do a darn thing. And with his eye-catching play last year, that seemed unusual to me. I didn't even get a chance to see all of the snaps, how many guys actually played. Did Chase Vinovich even play? I don't even know. I know that Taven Bryant did. So he may have been the alternate defensive end pass rusher. So everybody, thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll be back again like we always are on Friday. We'll be doing a pregame show, and on Sunday we'll be back with a halftime and postgame show. Congratulations to the Browns organization, to the fans who were divided. I can just say this. Right now, it's a difficult time for a lot of you, but at the same time, when you watch the next 11 weeks play out and get an idea of who we have on the field and take a look at what Baker has on the field in Carolina. And if he doesn't do so well, I'm not going to pound him into the earth. I'm not going to step on him. That's just the wrong thing to do. It's the wrong way to be. I'm concerned about my team. And right now, we can get a lot stronger than what we are. And I'm hoping that there is better communication and better separation for the wide receivers. I hope that the only passes that Jacoby Brissett throws, are not all going to be fit into a window this big, And, the pass that he threw to a wide open Amari Cooper, that guy intercepted, but Amari was dragged to the ground. I don't know. That ball never got there. I am concerned about, we don't have much capacity to stretch the field, but our quarterback doesn't appear to have the arm to stretch the field. And our backup doesn't either. So the teams are going to be throwing, they're going to be throwing 8 men in the box. 7, 8 guys regularly to stop the running game, and we're going to have to prove ourselves with the wideouts. The quarterback's got to have to complete passes and not just screen passes and not just little things over the middle for 6 yards. He's going to have to go downfield, and there were opportunities. He's got to click on those few opportunities. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you have a really good week, and I'll see you again on Friday. Until then, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.